Most Dragon Ball fans know that Dragon Ball Super is a series with two different canons. One that's an anime, and the other, which is a manga. This is the case for the first 5 arcs of Super, with the anime coming to a close with the Universal Survival Saga in 2017. The manga, however, kept going with 2 arcs past the Tournament of Power, showing the adventures of Goku and Vegeta. But something happened before those 2 arcs. A rather unknown and obscure character within the Dragon Ball franchise, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, his name is Broly, managed to get himself a rebooted movie, becoming canon for the first time in 2018. Now, all jokes aside, with Super Broly being a massive success in the box office, becoming the highest grossing anime movie at the time, it was surprising to see the big green man disappear for a total of 4 years. He's had little cameos here and there, but the spotlight didn't return to him until 2022's Dragon Ball Super Superhero and 2023's rendition of the superhero movie. Pre-2023, however, it was pretty widely accepted that the events of Super Broly happened within the manga as shown in the movie, even though it's never shown in the manga. In this video, I will explain why this notion is one that is now outdated, as the events of Super Broly now have 2 separate continuities for both forms of Dragon Ball Super, being, the anime and the manga, similar to every other saga/main story within the series. The main thing with Super Broly is that it has some interesting narrative decisions that allow it to be applicable to both the anime and the manga of Super. Although never explicitly stated which canon it belongs to, the lack of specificity of certain events and the exclusion of the Blue Kaioken shows that it does slip right into the manga's portrayal of events. This movie also shows Vegeta going Super Saiyan God, which is a first time for the anime, but something that he's done before and after in the manga. Overall, I think these decisions prove that when writing Super Broly, both continuities were considered and accounted for by Akira Toriyama. However, as we'll soon see, this gets contradicted with Dragon Ball Super Chapter 93. So with that, let's cover the portrayal of Broly in the Super manga. Now, even though Chapter 93 is the chapter that formally introduces Broly into the plot, there are a couple of references to DBS Broly before this moment. So because of that, let's quickly recap those references. In Chapter 42, at the end of the Tournament of Power, it gives us a neat little illustration alluding to the events of Broly. It also shows us that the Moro Saga starts immediately after the Call Me Kakarot scene. The next actually came out with the 9th volume release of Dragon Ball Super in between chapters 42 and 43. It's a little bonus illustration by Toyotaro, and this illustration shows Gogeta holding up the instant transmission fingers and Broly getting up from battle. Gogeta here breaks the 4th wall, and it's clear here that this is more of a non-canon Easter egg than anything, so I won't really be talking about it after this. Is what I would say if there wasn't an interesting design choice here made in the color scans, which I will be mentioning later. Moving on to a later volume, we have Volume 11's bonus story, where Goku and Vegeta explain the events of the movie to Miras. This also alludes to the opening of Dragon Ball Super Broly within the history of the Saiyan's fathers. An interesting tidbit of information here from Goku is that he says that Broly overpowered their Super Saiyan Blue form specifically, leaving room for some, including myself at the time, to believe that if Goku had access to Ultra Instinct, maybe he could have beaten Broly. Also, many people believe that Gogeta within this bonus story is using the mastered Super Saiyan Blue state, as he is shown with no aura. But what's really interesting regarding Gogeta in this story is that Goku says, "Somehow we won," which could imply that maybe Goku didn't have faith in Gogeta's victory against Broly. Now, getting to Dragon Ball Super Chapter 93, there are 4 pages that have illustrations of the events of Super Broly. The first page covers Broly getting sent to Vampa and Chilai and Lemo finding him in Paragus, and for the most part, it's pretty one-to-one to the movie. The second page shows the 2 Saiyans and Frieza showing up on Earth, and the start of the fight with Goku and Vegeta. Very similar to this one, it's the exact same as the movie, with it including the Sab jackets and what appears to be, Vegeta fighting Broly first. Page 3 shows Blue Goku vs. Broly as well as the death of Paragus. This is where we start to see some differences from the movie. Now yes, Blue Goku does fight Broly in the movie, but an important thing to note is that Goku doesn't fight Broly in his base form. Broly goes Wrath, at least that's what Dokkan calls it, so that's what I'm going to call it, right before his fight with base Goku, meaning that there is a massive continuity change here. In fact, the Wrath form is absent from all depictions of Broly in the Super manga, unless you include the present, which shows a panel of base Broly freaking out, but there's no indication that he's using a special form here. Other than this though, it's mostly the same. Frieza kills Paragus and lies about it being a stray energy blast. The final page shows Big Man Broly beating down Goku and Vegeta, and then Gogeta beating down Broly. Very similar to the previous page, there's a pretty interesting panel here that shows Broly without his armor fighting and beating down Blue Goku and Blue Vegeta. This appears to be his full power Super Saiyan form, or his legendary Super Saiyan form, as most of you guys would call it. What's interesting about this is that this is semi-similar to his base design in the movie, as Super Saiyan Broly without armor never fights Blue Goku and Vegeta. This design is dedicated specifically to his fight with Gogeta. Another interesting omission is Broly's Super Saiyan form with his armor on, aka his design when he first goes Super Saiyan. Now this could just be because of limited panel space, as we know in 2 other depictions of Broly, he does fight Goku and Vegeta looking like this, but I think it's an interesting decision nonetheless. This page also changes the quote about Broly being stronger than the Blue Boys, with it now saying, "The death of Broly's power triggered a rampage, granting the Saiyan power that eclipsed Goku and Vegeta's own strength." Now before moving on, I want to talk about some differences made to the designs of the 3 Saiyans that could indicate a difference of narrative. While most of these could mean nothing, these differences are something that I think is worth mentioning, as there's just so many of them for it to be unintentional. In the first showing of Broly, we see Blue Goku and Blue Vegeta fighting Super Saiyan Broly. In this panel, we see that Goku has his gi intact, and the background appears to be the normal daytime from the beginning of the movie. In fact, this is consistent with the panels in the Volume 11 bonus story, which show the same thing. Toyotaro also shows that Goku and Vegeta fused with their clothing unscathed. Funnily enough, this gets retconned in Chapter 93, as we see the skybox changes and Goku tears off his shirt before Broly goes Super Saiyan, which is much more aligned with the events in the movie. Although Goku's shirt got fixed in 93, this chapter shows us that Vegeta fights Broly with his Saiyan armor undamaged, meaning that although there was one correction made, there was another difference made as well. Finally, and debatably the most impactful design change, is Broly in the Volume 9 bonus page. In the color release of this volume, we see that Broly without his armor, which indicates that he should be in his full power or legendary Super Saiyan state with green hair, but Broly's hair is actually yellow. This could mean that this form just doesn't exist in the manga. I want to add here that I did go back to check, and as you guys can see here, Kale's hair is green in the Tournament of Power. Now, this panel is most definitely not canon. That can easily be seen by looking at Gogeta's dialogue, and color scans for the most part don't really reflect an author's intent, but given that Kale's hair is green and Broly's is not, it appears that there was an intentional decision made by somebody to give these 2 characters different forms. Now that we've gone over what the manga shows from Super Broly, let's recap some things. So here's what's confirmed to be the manga's order of events. This is stuff that is without a doubt shown in the manga. The prologue with the Saiyans' dads, all that checks out. Chilai and Lemmo find Paragus and Broly and bring them to Frieza. Vegeta fights Broly first. At some point, Vegeta stops fighting Broly and Goku starts. It's important to note that when this happens, Broly does not go Wrath. At some point in their fight, Goku is forced to go blue and he tears off his shirt. The 2 of them would also fall into the lava at some point, creating the eruptions and darkened sky. Frieza then kills Paragus and Broly goes Super Saiyan. We can safely assume that he goes normal Super Saiyan and Vegeta rejoins the fight after this, with Vegeta's armor still intact. Goku and Vegeta then get overpowered, and Goku decides to head over to Piccolo to create Gogeta. Gogeta then comes in for the clean sweep, and what appears to be the mastered Super Saiyan Blue form. Goku gives Chilai, Lemmo, and Broly provisions and teleports off of Vampa. I personally hope here that this means that the Kakarot line is still consistent in both continuities, as you know, it's one of the best things to come from Super. So with that though, let's talk about what's not shown in the manga, but is also from the film that could still fit within the manga's continuity. Narratively, the film and the manga can still have the same progression, with the 2 Saiyans training after the Tournament of Power, and both Bulma and Frieza wanting the Dragon Balls to make their silly wishes. Vegeta's form progression of Super Saiyan then God can still work out, and Broly could also lose control of himself when fighting God Vegeta. This also applies to Goku as he ends off in blue, with no indication that some other form could have been used. And finally, Frieza can still get his ass kicked by Broly and be humiliated by Gogeta. And to end off, I want to cover what's in the film that is just absent or can no longer fit in the manga. Broly's Wrath and color-exclusive Super Saiyan form are both absent, the latter of which I think is a really interesting omission if I do say so myself. Broly has an extended fight with Goku and Vegeta in his Super Saiyan form, to the point of him losing his armor. Personally, I think this indicates that the dimensional shattering moment that Gogeta and Broly have just doesn't really happen in the manga as as Broly transforms into that form while they're in that like weird dimensional space. We also know that the fight was not so one-sided in Gogeta's favor. The last one I want to point out is one where the manga affects the movie and not really so much vice versa, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Broly just isn't close to Beerus's power. As we know, Beerus just keeps getting revealed to be stronger and stronger since his introduction. If this was not the case and Broly was actually in the realm of Beerus's power, then he and Gogeta would be stronger than the likes of Moro Saga, Ultra Instinct Goku, Granola, and Gas, which I don't think makes too much sense in the grand scheme of things personally. I think it'd be really silly to say that Broly is stronger than Goku after like 6 months of training and further mastering Ultra Instinct, so I really don't like that. And now to cover some power scaling implications. If the first quote is to be believed about their power, then Broly is stronger than Mastered Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, but not necessarily Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. The second quote could change this to mean that Broly is stronger than TOP Goku, but given the wonderful and totally not stupid power scaling revelation within Chapter 93, I think it is possible to say that Tournament of Power Goku is still stronger than full power Super Saiyan Broly. Going off of that, this chapter all but confirms a pretty concrete hierarchy of power scaling pre-Moro arc, with Beerus at the top, and it either being Master Ultra Instinct Goku, Jiren, Mastered Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, then Broly, or flipping the first two with the last two. So it would go Gogeta, Broly, Goku, Jiren. If these design changes were to be taken at heart, then there are some interesting implications of Broly's absence of the full power Super Saiyan form. He could have lost his armor from just powering up. This wouldn't really change much. What would change a lot, though, is if Goku and Vegeta could have broken his armor. This would make Broly much more comparable to the two of them separately. This would then trickle into implications about the strength of their fusion, making Gogeta seem weaker, or it could display how much stronger Broly is capable of getting in such a short amount of time. Similar to that vein, with the exclusion of these transformations, we can safely say that Broly's immense exponential growth is something that affects his base form specifically, and is not something that comes from transformations themselves. So say if Broly were to keep, fighting past his green hair, he wouldn't unlock new forms like Beast or something like that. And lastly, and potentially the most controversial take I have, is that I think it's important to bar, or at least reconsider, all promotional material about Broly pre-2023 from lore and power scaling discussions when talking about the manga. As now that there's 2 official canons, it's clear that these scans and guides would have only been applying to the first one, being the movie and the anime. So, I want to end this video by asking you guys, what do you think? Do you agree that Broly now has 2 canons to look at? What do you think this means for the manga's continuity and Gogeta and Broly's place when it comes to the power scaling hierarchy? Do you think Broly is missing both of his forms within the manga, or does he still have his green-haired form? Let me know what content you guys want to see next, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and thank you all for watching.